Hello there, folks. My name is Spoonks, and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see what each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was Send Help, making $4.4 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $55 million and its worldwide total to $82 million. Send Help still doing really well. Again, the word of mouth has just been excellent thus far. There was some concern that due to how massive Valentine's Day was, a lot of the holdovers would plummet, and this movie was able to have one of the stronger holds this weekend. It only dropped 49% despite being out for quite some time now. Not only that, but it has also surpassed the $50 million milestone domestically and the doubling point of its $40 million milestone worldwide. The question remains, will it get to $100 million worldwide? We'll see how a certain horror movie that's coming out this weekend affects the film's performance. I know this is more of a dark comedy thriller, but it's a Sam Raimi movie, apples to oranges, so it'll be interesting to see how it faces off against that, but it's so close to the milestone. It wouldn't surprise me if it gets close to 100 million or just barely surpasses it worldwide. I think it's got some juice left in the tank for it, but still, given the low expectations for it going into like its opening weekend, the fact that the film has reached this high alone is really impressive. It still shows that Sam Raimi has the sauce and people are interested in these types of dark, twisted little movies. Again, the word of mouth has been strong and the legs have been even stronger thus far. Again, I don't think anyone was really expecting this dark, twisted Sam Raimi film to shoot to these high numbers. It really has become our first little surprise of the year. So kudos to you, Send Help. Great job. And I hope you shoot even higher outside the top 5 for sure. Number 4 was Crime 101, making $5.5 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $24 million and a worldwide total of $45 million. Oh, Crime 101, how I wish you were doing better. Yeah, this movie took another big hit this weekend. It took the biggest hit out of any of the holders in the top 5, falling 61%. Unfortunately, just the interest with this is not growing and the word of mouth is not doing its job. Unfortunately, it's just really turning out to be quite the box office bomb, unfortunately, and that's solely because of the budget. Again, if this was like a $50 million budget, yeah, this weekend still wouldn't be great, but hey, it would be close to the budget. It would be making back its budget by now. But again, this is a $90 million budget. The interest for this movie was low enough as it is, and it's not growing or expanding. I'm not even sure if my claim last week about, well, maybe it would be better had it come out this weekend, because even though, it's a less crowded weekend, and I'm sure it probably would have gained some interest or boosted the numbers somehow, I'm just not sure if there was enough people interested or curious to go check this out. So yeah, Crime 101 continues to be quite the box office disappointment. Number 3 was I Can Only Imagine 2, opening with $7.7 million this weekend domestically, and that total stays the same worldwide as it hasn't been released in any international countries yet. Yeah, this did about what I expected it to do. I know the first one was a massive hit, and this is a faith-based film, so there was some hope that would carry over to this, and maybe the faith-based crowd would rush out to go and see the sequel, especially with how huge that last movie was. And again, like I think I brought this up last weekend, I think they were hoping for like an Accountant 2 scenario where despite this coming out so late after the first one, it would still show like, oh, the audience is still here. But unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. This opening is significantly lower than the first one's opening back in 2018. I really think had they got this out in sooner, we could have seen a strong performance like this. Like, whoa, this is a new potential franchise. But yeah, again, I just think it just took way too long to get this thing going. It's clear that the first one isn't in a lot of people's heads anymore. And again, I doubt many people were hoping or expecting or clamoring for a sequel to this. It felt like the first one was a nice solid one and done type film for a lot of people, and again, clearly just not enough interest was there to go check out the second one. However, fans do seem to be satisfied with what they got. It got the A plus on cinema score, so maybe this legs it out, maybe this gets to where it needs to. And again, it's not like this is the most expensive thing out there. It's only an $18 million movie, so hopefully it legs out and again gets to where it needs to in order to be a success. But even if so, I doubt this reaches the heights of the first one. Again, that first movie was massive, and this definitely seems like it's gonna decline substantially from the first one. So yeah, not a great start for I Can Only Imagine 2. Number 2 was Wuthering Heights, making $14 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $59 million and a worldwide total of $151 million. So yes, this was a bit on the front-loaded side. It did take a bit of a hit, which is what a lot of people were expecting it to, but it honestly could have been a lot worse, especially considering how the underperformance was seen by a lot of people and how negative the reception seemed to be for this movie. A lot of just negativity surrounding this movie's opening, and hey, I was a part of that camp. I wasn't as harsh as a lot of other people were, I believe, but I didn't have the highest hopes for this movie going forward, but it seems to have defied the odds a bit. Not by a lot, but by a bit. I saw a lot of people expecting this to plummet, and I mean plummet, this weekend, and it only dropped 57%, which isn't great, but it's certainly better than what I thought it would hold to. It definitely shows that there is more interest, and the word of mouth might be a bit stronger than one might expect. I was actually kind of criticizing some comparisons towards The Housemaid, and you know how they both got B cinema scores as well, but it seems like this movie might be sharing some similarities to that. I know this movie's very popular on TikTok right now, and the fact that it's one of the few films geared towards a female audience and the only like romantic movie out right now until Reminders of Him next month, I think is helping the movie out as well. And hey, this movie's also doing really well internationally, and because of that, it's about to double its $80 million budget. So this isn't going to be as big of a financial disaster as people were hoping it would be. It's not going to be the biggest movie of the year so far, but the outlook on this is looking much more positive than I think I and many others expected it to. So good on you, Wuthering Heights. You're doing just fine. Not great, not spectacular, but just fine, which given how things were looking last weekend, I think is definitely more than welcome. And finally, let's end the video off with the number one movie of the weekend, which was GOAT, making $16 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $58 million and a worldwide total of $102 million. I don't think anyone's really surprised or shocked that this movie was able to overtake Wuthering Heights, even though Wuthering Heights' reception seems to be a bit more positive than it did initially. It's clear that more people preferred GOAT over Wuthering Heights. The reception towards this movie has just been so positive, so strong, and the response to it has just been such a massive overperformance that it was able to take down the big romantic blockbuster, which again is really impressive. There were some, in fact, it's so impressive that this is what many people thought its opening weekend was going to turn out, and the fact that it's still able to hold this well and make this type of money in its second weekend is really impressive. Obviously, being one of the few big kids movies out in theaters right now is helping it, but I really do think this movie has struck a chord with a lot of people. The word of mouth has, again, seems so strong, and I've seen a lot of people talking highly and positive about it, and with the movie still having some time before the next big kids movie, Hoppers, I think this is still gonna be able to hold well. And if anything, if Zootopia 2 is anything to compare this to, I think they might just be able to coexist. Of course, we won't really know until we see how they compare with each other, but given how strong this movie's done, I think they'll be able to coexist just fine. But that's just me. Who knows? I could be talking about like, I was wrong before. But as is, I think they'll be able to coexist with each other. Again, the response and the word of mouth has been really strong and positive for this thus far, and because of that, it seems to be growing exponentially. Especially internationally, it looked pretty bleak internationally with its opening, but it has really been showing some force internationally, and it's caused it to surpass the $100 million milestone worldwide, and it's continuing to grow. As compared to some other animated movies, it's outpacing Mutant Mayhem, Space Jam: A New Legacy, and even The Bad Guys, which is all really impressive and strong to see. And also, it still has a couple more countries to release, including China, Australia, and I believe Japan. I'm not entirely sure about that last one, but yeah, it still has a couple countries to release, so hopefully those boost the international worldwide totals even more. Yeah, really solid weekend for GOAT, and the future continues to look bright for this movie. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we have one new major wide release, that film being Scream 7. Yeah, that's right, we have reached 7 movies in this franchise. Hard to believe after some production issues and course correcting. Ghostface is back, terrorizing not just Sidney Prescott, but also her daughter back in her little hometown. So it's up to Sidney to stop Ghostface once and for all for the 7th time in a row now. Now, despite this being the point in a franchise where franchise fatigue really hits, like again, 7 movies, my god. I actually have high expectations for this movie's opening. I actually think this is going to do really well this weekend. First off, horror has just been dominating, especially horror sequels. We saw last year with, Five Nights at Freddy's, The Conjuring, Final Destination. They all reached franchise highs and huge numbers, and I see this one doing the same. The hype for this is through the roof. The buzz is so strong on this movie, bringing back Sidney Prescott and involving her daughter. And of course, everyone loves Ghostface. And again, horror has just been thriving these past couple years, and given how successful the previous Scream films, this looks to be no different. The only reason, well, one of the reasons I feel like this could come under expectations is just the marketing has been really lackluster, especially compared to Scream 6, which was just everywhere. I remember they went all out with that movie's promotion. This one, it's been very lackluster, to the point where I've even noticed diehard Scream fans going, yeah, I'm excited for this movie, but the marketing hasn't been the best. And if Scream fans and general audiences aren't too thrilled about the movie they see, if this movie's not really good, obviously I could see this movie plummeting after its opening. But overall, as far as its opening weekend, I think it's going to be rather successful. Again, there's a lot of optimism, a lot of hype for this movie, and it seems that a lot of people are excited to go see it. So yeah, I think this is probably going to be our first real big opening of the year. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all those social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.